Most people expect cake, candles, and maybe a few awkward songs on their birthday. I walked into mine and found 40 people sitting in rows like a courtroom. My mother stood at the front holding a microphone. My father had a list. My sister had a camera. And before I could even sit down, my mother said, "We're here because you're selfish." That was the moment I realized. This wasn't a birthday party. It was an intervention. But what no one in that room knew was that I had been preparing for this night for 3 months. And I didn't come unarmed. My name is Faith. I'm 30. I work as an ER nurse just outside Columbus, Ohio. And for the past 8 years, I've been quietly holding my entire family together. Every month, I sent money home. No questions. No complaints. Mortgage, $1,100. Insurance, $340. My sister's car, $280. Groceries, $150. Over $2,000 a month. Almost half my paycheck. I lived in a small apartment. Drove an old car. Skipped vacations. Skipped everything. Because I believed one thing. Family takes care of family. What I didn't realize was the difference between helping someone and being used. Every Sunday, I showed up at my parents' house. Early. Before everyone else. I cooked. Cleaned. Set the table. By the time dinner started, I was already exhausted. And still, no one noticed. My sister would walk in late, holding a bottle of wine. And somehow, she'd be the one getting hugs. That should have been my first clue. But I ignored it. Because when you spend your whole life trying to be the good one, you don't question unfairness. You accept it. Until one day, you hear something you weren't supposed to hear. 3 months before my birthday, I stopped by my parents' house unexpectedly. The back door was unlocked. I stepped inside quietly. And then, I heard my name. "We'll do it on her birthday," my mother said. I froze. "We sit her down in front of everyone," she continued, "and tell her the truth." My sister laughed. "I'll film it," she said. "This will blow up online." My chest tightened. "What if she stops paying?" my sister asked. My mother didn't hesitate. "She won't." That confidence. That certainty. It hit harder than anything else. Because she wasn't guessing. She knew me. "She's been paying for years," my mother said. "She won't walk away." I stood there in silence. Heart pounding. And in that moment, something inside me changed. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. I stopped being the daughter they could control. And started becoming someone they didn't understand. I left the house without making a sound. Sat in my car. Hands shaking on the wheel. Then I made one call. Naomi. My best friend. A lawyer. The one person who wouldn't sugarcoat the truth. After I told her everything, she asked me one question. "Do you still have that recording app?" That was the moment everything shifted. Because I wasn't going to fight them with emotions. I was going to fight them with truth. Because what I started recording after that night wasn't just proof. It was enough to destroy everything they were planning. After that night, I didn't confront them. I didn't argue. I didn't even change how I acted. I did something much more dangerous. I listened. Every Sunday, I showed up like nothing had changed. Smiled. Cooked. Cleaned. And before I walked through that door, I turned on my recorder. At first, it felt strange. Like I was doing something wrong. But then I reminded myself. I wasn't creating anything. I was just capturing what was already there. The first week. Nothing. Normal conversations. Surface level. Safe. But the second week, everything changed. I was in the kitchen, rinsing dishes, when I heard my father's voice from the garage. Soft. Careless. Different. "I'll tell her I'm busy," he said. Same excuse as always. Then a woman laughed. Not my mother. 22 years, he continued, chuckling. And she still believes it. My hands froze under the water. 22 years. I didn't move, didn't breathe, just listened. Because suddenly, the picture I thought I knew started breaking apart. That night, I sat in my car replaying the recording, over and over. Not because I didn't believe it, but because I couldn't. And yet, there it was. Clear. Undeniable. My father had been living a second life, while my mother stood in front of a room calling me selfish. I should have stopped there, but I didn't. Because once you start seeing the truth, you can't unsee it. The next week, I arrived early again. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Then I heard my mother's voice through the window. She doesn't know about the money, she said. I stepped closer. Heart pounding. I moved it before anyone could question it. Another voice answered, my aunt. And the jewelry. My mother laughed. Already sold. I felt something drop inside me. Cold. Heavy. Because I knew exactly what they were talking about. My grandmother's things. The ones she thought were being cleaned. The ones she asked me about every week. They'll never find out, my mother continued. She's too busy taking care of us. That part stayed with me. Not the money. Not the betrayal. The assumption. That I would never stop. That I would never question. That I would always give. No matter what. I stood there for a long time. Then slowly, I reached into my pocket and checked my phone. Still recording. That's when I realized something. This wasn't just about one lie. It was layers. Years of things I was never supposed to know. And somehow, I had become the one holding all of it. By the fourth week, I wasn't shocked anymore. Just observant. That's when I heard my sister complaining about her husband, calling him useless, saying she regretted marrying him, and then, minutes later, telling him he was the best thing in her life. I didn't react. I just let it record. Because by then, I understood something clearly. Everyone in that house had two versions of themselves. The one they showed the world, and the one they thought no one would ever hear. Except now, I could hear everything, and I was saving it. Not for revenge. For the moment I knew was coming. The night they planned to break me in front of everyone. The night they thought I'd sit there and take it. But what they didn't realize was that I wasn't walking into that room empty-handed. I was walking in with the truth. Because by the time my birthday arrived, I wasn't the one walking into a trap. They were. By the time my birthday arrived, I wasn't nervous anymore. I was ready. I sat in my car outside my parents' house for a moment. Hands steady. Breathing slow. Phone charged. Recorder app open. Speaker connected. Everything in place. Because I knew one thing for certain. This night was going to change everything. When I walked in, the first thing I noticed was the silence. Not the good kind. The heavy kind. The kind that feels like something is about to happen. The living room had been rearranged. Chairs lined up in rows. Facing the front. A microphone stood in the center. And behind it, a banner. We care enough to be honest. I almost smiled. Because now I knew. They weren't just planning to confront me. They were planning to control the story. 40 people turned to look at me. Neighbors. Family. Even people from my workplace. That part hit harder than anything else. Because this wasn't just personal. This was public. I spotted my supervisor in the second row. Watching. Observing. Exactly like they wanted. I took my seat. Front row. Center. Like a defendant. My mother stepped forward. Calm. Composed. Thank you all for coming, she said. And just like that, it started. She spoke for nearly 10 minutes. Calling me selfish. Controlling. Ungrateful. Saying I used money to manipulate them. That I was tearing the family apart. I didn't interrupt. Not once. Because this wasn't my moment yet. Then my father stood up. Holding 3 pages. And I recognized the handwriting immediately. Not his. Hers. A script. He began reading. A list of everything I'd ever done wrong. From childhood to adulthood. Half of it wasn't even true. But that didn't matter. Because this wasn't about truth. It was about perception. 7 minutes. That's how long it took. 7 minutes to try to define my entire life. When he finished, the room went silent. Waiting. For me. I stood up slowly. Every eye locked on me. I kept my voice calm. Can we talk about this privately? I asked. Just once. A chance to end it without damage. My mother didn't even hesitate. No. That one word confirmed everything. They didn't want resolution. They wanted a show. I looked around the room one last time. At the faces. The reactions. Some uncomfortable. Some convinced. Then I looked at my sister. Still filming. Still smiling. That's when I knew. There was no going back. I reached into my purse. Pulled out my phone. Held it up. And said 6 words. Funny. I've been recording too. The room froze. Completely. My father stood up suddenly. Don't. Too late. I pressed play. And the room filled with his voice. Not the version sitting in front of them. The real one. Careless. Confident. Talking to another woman. Lying. Laughing. The reaction was immediate. Shock. Confusion. Disbelief. My mother's face changed instantly. Not controlled anymore. Exposed. I didn't stop there. Because I wasn't done. And neither was the truth. Because that first recording didn't just break the silence. It shattered the version of reality they had spent years building. The moment that first recording ended, the room didn't react all at once. It cracked. Like glass under pressure. My father stood frozen. My mother stared at him like she didn't recognize him. And for the first time that night, no one was looking at me. They were looking at each other. That's when I pressed play again. My mother's voice filled the room. Calm. Careless. Laughing about money she hid. About selling my grandmother's jewelry. About making sure I never found out. The silence that followed was different. Heavier. Because this wasn't just betrayal. It was proof. My father turned toward her slowly. You lied to me, he said. But I didn't wait for their argument. I played the third recording. My sister's voice. Mocking her husband. Saying she regretted marrying him. Then, lying to him minutes later. I watched as he stood up. No yelling. No scene. Just realization. And then he walked out. That quiet exit. It hit harder than anything else that night. Because sometimes silence says more than anger ever could. By now, the room was unraveling. People whispering. Shifting. Recalculating everything they thought they knew. But there was one thing left. The final recording. The one that started it all. I pressed play. My mother's voice again. Planning the entire night. We do it on her birthday. If she cries, even better. The words echoed through the room. And just like that, the illusion collapsed completely. No more pretending. No more control. Just truth. I lowered my phone slowly. That's everything, I said. No anger. No shouting. Just clarity. Now you all know who I really am. I paused. Looked around the room. And who they really are. No one defended them. No one could. Then I took a breath. And said the one thing I had been holding back for years. I'm done. My mother shook her head. You can't just walk away. I'm not walking away, I said calmly. I'm stepping out of something that was never healthy. Then I made it clear. No more money. No more payments. No more fixing problems that aren't mine. Gasps. Shock. Because that was the part they never expected. They thought they controlled me. But control only works when someone agrees to stay. I turned toward the door. No hesitation. No second thoughts. And I walked out. The next few days, everything collapsed. My father left. My sister's marriage ended. My family stopped speaking to each other. Not because I destroyed them, Because the truth did. And without me holding everything together, they couldn't pretend anymore. Weeks later, I sat in my apartment. Quiet. Peaceful. For the first time in years. My money was mine. My time was mine. My life was mine. And that silence. It didn't feel empty. It felt free. Looking back now, I don't regret what I did. Because I didn't expose them out of anger. I exposed them because I finally chose myself. And sometimes, that's the hardest thing you'll ever do. Because the night they tried to break me, became the night I finally stopped holding everyone else together. And started building a life that was actually mine.